5.
Guys. Yeah? No. You know what, guys? I'm gonna do the thing that we're not supposed to do, and that is have this conversation right now. You know what, guys? I'm makeup free. I just watched this episode 4 times. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 times. And I was just gobsmacked the entire time because I'm just like, what the fuck? Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here today and you're wondering why I have no makeup on, it's because my mouth, my jaw is on the floor. I literally switched on my lights. I put on a little bit of cream because I knew that my face was probably going to look ashy when I did this. But now I'm sitting here today and I thought, you know what? I need to say this right now before I decide not to even do this TV recap because I'm just like, what the fudge, right? I hope I don't have lip sperm. Judging by the title of this video, you guys already know what I'm about to talk about. You already know what I'm about to get into the crux of. And I think, I don't think I've ever been this shocked by a premiere of a show. And I get shocked. You know what? It's actually funny because no first episode has thrown me off the way this one has thrown me off. You understand what I'm saying? I ain't got no damn bra on, child. Look, I ain't got nothing. I'm just sitting here. I'm shocked. Everything of mine is shocked. Every body part is shocked. I'm just like, what the f? Who even let this air? Like, okay, maybe for the views, which is why we're here, it definitely did its job to give us that factor, that X factor. But there are just so many things that were wrong with this episode. So now before I start, let me say this, and let me start at the very beginning, right? Now, you guys all know who Somizi is. Somizi is a really famous TV personality, actor, someone with lots of diverse traits. He has been on Idols, he is the DSTV ambassador, and he's just someone who has kind of become the TV, I'm gonna say, phenomenon of our time, right? You guys are more than welcome to obviously come at me in the comments, but I'm just gonna put it like that because he doesn't have one specific trait about him. He's just so multifaceted in that sense, and rightfully so. Somizi has earned his stripes, right? All the way from Sarafina up until now, Somizi has earned his stripes of even being a dancer and a choreographer. Right. So I want to get into Somizi's reality show called Living the Dream with Somizi. Season 5 just came out. And if you guys have watched season 5, the first episode, you guys already know what I'm about to talk about. The episode where they address Mallela and Somizi's very messy divorce, which ended up on social media. Yes, I saw it. Yes, I saw how everything unfolded over the years because I was a big fan, or I am. Let me not even say that, because that would sound like I'm obviously choosing sides. I am a big fan of Somizi's work. I'm a big fan of Somizi's craft. But this particular episode just had me, it just left a very sour taste in my mouth. Kind of like the taste of how your mouth feels when you eat metal, or when it feels metallic. I don't know. But, right. Let's not take away from Somizi the person. I want us to just address this episode. Nothing outside of it. I will add a little bit of context as to what happened outside of the show for anybody who has no idea. But we are addressing this episode, okay? As you guys all know, Somizi is a very famous socialite who obviously in his last 2 seasons or first season happened to find his soulmate, his partner, that being Mallela, and then got married, Mallela Mudaum, and then they got married publicly on his show, and then obviously, like any other relationship, experienced the strains of marriage, a relationship, and then decided to call it quits. But now the quits of it was public. It was super messy. It came with a lot of information, which just kind of left a lot of allegations of abuse, a lot of allegations of kind of, I don't want to say the word harassment, but I'm just going to say a lot of negative allegations, and I'm going to leave it around abuse, right? Right. The first episode is already a red flag for me, because I'm just like, who approved this? who approved this. Now in the first episode, the first scene, it starts with Vusi Nova. Yes, I wrote it all in my book, guys. I wrote everything down because obviously for copyright strikes, I can't post any of the clips because I will get a copyright strike. But the first scene starts with him and his good friend Vusi Nova. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to believe that Vusi Nova and Somizi became friends after Mohale, but I could be wrong. I don't know, because it was Vusi Nova, then he became something else. I don't know. He's got a new stage name, guys, because he does new music, but he was kind of like a, I would say, R&B, maybe towards gospel. That was Vusi Nova, and now he's something else. The first scene is already what sets the tone to what feels like a smear campaign. The first scene starts with Somizi basically listening to a clip or a clip montage of the Mac G podcast playing, where Mac G, Ghost Lady, and Saul talk about the news that came out. And now the news that they were referring to was a audio clip that was recorded where Mohale was sitting with, I think, a man named Legend, who was the producer of Somizi's previous shows. Legend Mkhele, or I'm not entirely sure. I really hope I'm not butchering anyone's names because I don't know Legend really well. He just came in and out of the scene. But Mohale was having a conversation which was assumed to be a personal conversation with Legend. Then Legend happened to record that conversation, and then it went out into the public. And in that conversation, Mohale was detailing experiences of his marriage with Somizi, which I choose not to really engage in because it's not a nice clip or a nice conversation to be listening to. But in that conversation, for context, he's talking about basically how unhappy he was with Somizi and the things that had transpired between their marriage, which was horrific to hear, because what was alleged in that clip was that Somizi was abusing Mohale. And like any other, us being like the rape capital of the world, and us having suffered so many women dying at the hands of being abused by men, so many LGBTQ dying at the hands of being abused by their partners of the same sex, of course the first thing we're going to do is be in utter shock and be upset on Mohale's behalf. And I say we because obviously when I heard that, I was like, wow, what the fudge? What's going on? You know, you're thinking they just got divorced because maybe they had differences, like differences that were, you know, irreconcilable. So sorry, I have to say this because I'm gonna lose my train of thought. They may have had irreconcilable differences and decided to go their separate ways, but instead what comes out from that clip, which according to Mohale, I think, was not supposed to be released to the public. It was just a general interview with him and Legend. I could be wrong about this, but I think Mohale was unaware that he was being recorded and that it would end up in the media eye. I could be wrong because I don't know Mohale personally to that degree. I know who Mohale is. He seems like a great person, but Somizi also seems like a great person. So you don't really want to take one person's word over the other. But in that interview that was had, it's seemingly alleged that Mohale had no idea or knowledge that it would become public news, right? But could be wrong. So let's leave that question mark there. Now, it comes out, all this information comes out, and Somizi suffers publicly, suffers in terms of brand deals. I mean, we saw how the one brand kind of asked him to step down for a little bit. He was suspended, and it was tough. Like any other person, you know, I for one know what it's like to be involved in something on social media and end up losing a campaign, a big campaign, and that campaign changes your whole life, dude. Like that was my biggest campaign and I lost it because of a tweet that was made by someone, right? So when obviously that happened, you can't help but sit in shock. Yes, you are angry on behalf of the person, right? But you're also like, damn, like, you know that all it takes is one statement, one insinuation, one anything for your life to kind of unfold, which is exactly what happened to Somizi. Now, not saying Mohale is wrong, not saying Somizi is right, but I want to get into how this episode redefined the storyline, and instead, you know what, as someone who is a producer who knew the ratings that this first episode would get, the last thing I would ever want to do is make the victim of what they are not sure is true or not, right, into some sort of a gaslighting smear campaign. That's not good, and it's especially not good for Somizi, because Somizi should have been more worried about, you know what, let me start at the beginning. They have this conversation with Vusi Nova. Vusi Nova starts by saying that when he saw the news kind of unfold on social media, he knew immediately that was sabotage. I'm like, what? What? My nigga, are you serious right now? This is a serious allegation, and you're going, and the first thought, yes, I understand that Somizi is your friend, but the first thought that you're gonna think of is sabotage, my nigga. Even if you are thinking that, which is a normal human thing to think, don't be saying that on national TV. How does it make you look? In a rape capital, in the one country where so much homicide is happening to people in relationships, that's your first statement on national television. So that's the first problem for me. The first problem was to say the word sabotage. You could have said the word, you know, with the way things transpired, I was quite surprised at how Mallela detailed the events, because that is not what I heard from Somizi, which would have been the same thing, but it would have made you seem like less of a prick. Yes, I'm talking to you, Vusi Nova. It would have made you seem like less of a meanie and less of a I'm siding with Somizi, because at the end of the day, irrespective of you saying that Somizi told you everything, there are certain things that Somizi might omit from you because they make him look bad. Okay? There are certain things Somizi might not tell you because he knows that'll put him in a negative light. Whether or not Somizi does or does not tell you, yes, I understand you have to ride for your friend. But to go as far as saying sabotage, because now ask yourself this, why has Mallela been quiet for so long? If Mallela was really insistent on being like sabotaging Somizi, he could have done it sooner. But that's just my take on it. I still could be wrong. This is my opinion. I still could be wrong. Because again, I don't know Mallela. I don't know what his intentions were. And for me to think of it like a logical person, irrespective of whether it was sabotage or not, it's not your place to make that assumption, especially not on national television, because already you're creating the narrative that Mallela did this to ruin Somizi's career, right? Right? Okay. As a friend, it's not your place to say that. And that's just what I'm gonna say. Irrespective of how close you are, you guys could be twin brothers and sisters. It's not your place to say that, because what you're doing is belittling Mallella's experience in the marriage and kind of sort of putting Somizi's experience on a pedestal because of what Somizi told you. Then he turns around and says, I tolerated Mallela. So already I'm thinking, okay, so you might call it sabotage because you never liked Mallela. So the easy thing to think is that you didn't like Mallela, so that's why you're using this opportunity to come at him like this, because with everything that's happened and because you didn't like him, it's going to fuel you to dislike him even more. Right? Wrong? Your Honor? Am I lying? No, I'm not. So if Vusi, even in his disdain for Mallela, if he was objective about the situation, that would have not been his first thought. And then another thing that Vusi kept saying, yeah, what did I tell you about this little boy? I'm like, Helang Masadi! Helang! Haimo! Like, this very little boy is someone that Somizi married. This very little boy is an adult who made his own decision to marry Somizi, who Somizi made the decision to marry. Already you keep saying little boy. What are we thinking as the viewers? We're already now thinking that you saying little boy, there's already a power dynamics in that. And what's the power dynamics? Uyabona ukuthi in the things that you were saying in your diary sessions, as much as you had Somizi's back, which is rightfully so, you were literally digging a grave for Somizi because of the things that you were saying, and anybody else who thinks otherwise towards you is going to already assume that it was your very intention to discredit Mohale in the first episode. Everybody else was saying whatever they were saying, but your particular diary session came from I don't like him, I want to bash him, and that's what I'm gonna do. Okay? I don't remember seeing any of Mohale's friends. Well, I don't really know Mohale's friends, so maybe this is the part where I stop. But should there have been a friend of Mohale's who was saying this, that, and the third, come out and say, yeah, Somizi is this, then everybody's calling me, and I think it's because I'm feeling the motions. But what I'm trying to say is, if there were a friend of Mohale's who came out and said everything that they were saying from let's discredit Somizi, then I'd understand Vusinova's point. I understand Vusinova's point from a friendship perspective. What I don't understand is he wanted to ruin Somizi. But it could be true, because there's things that I don't know about Mohale, right? It could be true, it could be a lie, but irrespective, you don't want to go out like that. You don't want to go out like that because this thing hasn't even become legal. What happens if they do go to court? What happens if it is proven that Somizi did what Mohale alleged that he did? Then you have egg in your face. But as a friend, it's not your place to make those statements on such a public platform. And that's what I'm gonna say about Vusinova. You understand? Like, I neither liked nor disliked Vusinova. I was very indifferent to him. But after this particular diary session, I'm just like, I don't know where your commentary is coming from. I don't know if it's coming from a place of the fact that you tolerated him means you could have waited for the day that they divorced. You could have saw all of this and started hating him and then started being on some, because your commentary on its own, it's almost like you didn't even, how no salebone lenyalo la bona, period. Calling him a little boy and stuff. Like, hey batung, hi bo. Ngazenganyanya in that particular scene. I was just like, bro, come on. Yes, we understand you're defending your friend, but that's not the way to go about it. Sharp. Now, Somizi also said some things that I didn't like in that scene, talking about how Mohale must have been paid for content, of which I don't know much about Legend, and I don't know his rise to the top, right? This is why I can't deny nor approve what Somizi is saying is true, because we don't know, guys. We don't know. Somizi's been in the industry for too long. He must know better than us how the industry works. But irrespective, would someone use something that painful or that humiliating as content? I don't know. You know what I mean? That was my first concern. Vusinova and Somizi's conversation. Now, in this first episode, yes, the allegations against Somizi have been made. But as anybody who's strategic, and if I were seeing this, the first thing I would want to do is reclaim my innocence in the community, the audience, by talking about how sad the situation made me. Say, I never thought I'd get married, and in my first time of marriage, that someone would do this to me. A little bit of tears here and there. Nyana man, to show us, man, this thing has hit you. You understand? Just to build that thing, man. He really is distraught about what's happened to him. But no, it becomes he just wanted to make money out of me. He just wanted to, and then it becomes you're completely dismissing a serious allegation made against you, and it's becoming comical, which then leads everybody to believe that, are you really even understanding the severity of what's the allegations that have been made against you? Do you understand? So that was the first thing that irked me, because I was like, you know what? Even in Somizi's producers, I would have expected them to ask him questions like, how did you feel? It's your first marriage. I wanted him to talk about, you know, yes, I knew I knew Mallela and I had problems, but I never saw it playing out like this. I just wanted the best for him, and maybe that wasn't enough, and I'm apologetic. The things that have been made against me are legal. This, that, and the third, then I don't know something. Come on. This is what screenwriters, copywriters, producers, this is what people are for. But then again, why double down on something you didn't do? You see? And that's the part where we can't fault Somizi, because he can't say I'm guilty of something he's not guilty of, right? And that's alleged. That's something he alleges he's not guilty of. This is Mohale's word versus Somizi's word. So I can't really blame Somizi for saying, fuck no, I'm not gonna double down. I'm not gonna double down. I'm gonna stand my ground. I'm gonna take it to the finish line. And if I'm innocent, I'm innocent. If he's guilty, he's guilty. This, that, and the third. Somebody is going to be exposed. And in this episode, you could tell Somizi was not gonna double down, of which I respect that. I rightfully respect that, because a lot of the time, as big influencers and as big people, when people come for us on social media and we retaliate, social media wants to do this thing where they feel like if they can make you, they can break you. And I saw Somizi say something about what didn't make me won't break me. And I respect him for that, because I'm easily prone to doubling down. I fold like an envelope. I literally delete tweets. When I can see that this is going left, I delete. I won't stand my ground, not because I don't believe in what I'm saying, but I don't have the time. I have too much to lose as compared to people who have nothing to lose. So if you feel some type of way and you want to create that narrative about me, you can create it by yourself, because it won't even be on my TL. I'm not about to lose a campaign that literally is what I make in 8 months, because I'm trying to have a back and forth with you. And the thing is, that's what people do on social media. And I have been victim to that. I've seen that. And that's why I'm a fold like an A4 paper, baby. Mwah, mwah. Watch me fold, okay? I'm a folder. And I don't fold because I don't believe in what I'm saying. I'm folding because I realize what people do on social media. They do it to get a reaction. They do it to see you crumble, because a lot of the time, their happiness is only relative when it comes to you. It's only I'm happy for you until you're there, and then I'm no longer happy for you, because if I put you there with all my happiness, I sure as hell can take you down, right? So I respect Somizi for not doubling down, but I don't like the angle that they took, because this is not just any allegation. This is an allegation that is prevalent to the society that we live in. So I'm just like, I don't like whoever was co-writing this, or whoever co-signed this episode, or whoever didn't give Somizi a heads up that, hey, this is not gonna look good. But then I kept watching. Fine, I watch. Then I see the scene with Bahumi and her mom. Now, what I will say, Bahumi's situation was really sad. It was sad to witness, because in every single scene and diary session, Bahumi didn't really say anything bad about Mohale. Bahumi spoke about her father, her relationship with her dad, and how her dad put someone else on a pedestal and completely disregarded her as a daughter. And again, that is something I totally relate to, and I respect her that even in being so close to the situation, that she could have went the route Vusinova went, but she didn't. But then the mom, Palesa, Somizi, mama, they're married. Oh, I understand that. Like, I didn't understand what that was trying to imply also, because it was like, this one okay, mom. Oh, I understand. This one okay, man, the cat say. This one okay. This one okay, whom? This one okay, like, I'm trying to understand what they wanted Somizi to do. He was entering into a marriage. This was not dating. This was marriage. Yeah, oh, drive the koloi tsa hae. Where's that? Mama, I drive the koloi tsa mang, but bamdim. But mama, how? Again, we don't know what Mohale's intentions were with Somizi. We don't know if Mohale wanted the fame and the fortune, was in love with him, because Somizi did say some things which raised an eyebrow for me. Like, for one, their intimate relationship. And I was like, oh, damn. Nobody knew about that. Somizi didn't say anything about that. So the fact that Somizi is taking it out now and Mohale never mentioned that aspect, damn, what's really going on? Because we can't say Somizi's lying, guys. We don't know. These are two people. I understand. So Somizi, we like about the intimacy of their relationship, like the intimate side of it, and that was sad to listen to. That was really painful. I felt for Somizi because I, for one, know how very important intimacy is to me, especially sexual intimacy. Like, we cannot not be intimate. I'm sorry, but that for me is grounds for a breakup. And yes, I have broken up with someone over the lack of intimacy in our relationship. So trust and believe, when Somizi said that, I related to that full on blast. But then, when Mewateng was like, she's there for the fame and the fortune, this, that, and the third, was this Somizi said to her? Because if she had said, yeah, and Somizi and Jody told her, this is what was happening, then I wouldn't so much as, you know, lambaste her about it. But now I'm sitting here and I'm like, why are you assuming that? And then in the diary, she's like, yeah, nah, my daughter was never even paid for, and Honache always, so. And then she also kept saying, small boy. I'm like, defund parents, guys, defund old people, because old people find it so easy and so comforting to disrespect younger people because of their age and their so-called wisdom. And I hate it because I'm just like, as a mother, as someone who has a child, to discredit, not even discredit, to humiliate someone by calling them a small boy, which is something Vusinova also reiterated. So I'm not sure if this was a conversation all three of them were having over a glass of Pinot Grigio. But what I will say is it's distasteful, it's uncouth, it's unnecessary, and it's screaming bitter coming from her. And I said what I said. You can come at me in the comments. That it's neither here nor there. I hated every moment of that. I was just like, you know what, as a mom, as someone who's older and wiser, I would have expected her to not say things like that. But then again, I'm just like, hey, there must be things that she knows. She has a child with Somizi. They must obviously have conversations between themselves, but still, Somizi never referred to Mallela as a small boy. Somizi has said things that are definitely not okay, but unless Somizi's saying it and we see it in the diary sessions and we have an idea that Somizi must be saying it around you guys, that's not the right thing to say. But hey, that's just me. Then the next scene is him and Losha Cooper, Charmaine from Beck Street. Yeah, Beck Street, ne? Yeah, Beck Street. I don't know her as anything else. Charmaine, yeah, Beck Street. So she comes to the house and she obviously has to sit down with him, and I'm so glad because this scene seemed a lot more sensible than the other scenes that I've seen. Okay, in this scene she comes in, she sits down, they have breakfast, and then they start talking about the situation at hand. And then talking about the situation at hand, the first thing she says to him, which was a red flag for me because I was like, now I don't know where the situation with this conversation is gonna go. She's like, yeah, Somizi, when you got this particular thing with, I think it was DSTV, I'm not sure. When you got this, I told you you're gonna be a rising star. Somizi's like, And then she's like, and I told you to stay away from friends who didn't have the best intentions for you. This is not verbatim, but it's around those lines. Like, I told you to stay away from friends, people who weren't your friends. Stop being friends with everyone, which is something you guys will be surprised to know I hear a lot because I have a tendency of being very naive and thinking everyone in my space is a good person when they're not, right? So she's like, no, I told you to stay away from people who act like your friends but they're not your friends. And so Mrs. like, yes, you did. And then Losha said, then you went and married one. And I was like, now I'm stuck at a crossroads. I'm like, okay, I don't appreciate how these adults are coming across. But also, why do they all share the same consensus? But also, even in sharing the same consensus, where is the decency? This is a human being we're talking about here. Even Bahumi said something like, no, he was a fan celebrity, and I'm like, yes, if I married Drake, I would have started off as his fan and his celebrity. But if I become his girl, I'm his girl. You know what I mean? So what does that have to even do with anything? Is that alluding to the fact that maybe Mallela didn't really love Somizi and love the idea of him? Was that the narrative? Because if that's what they were trying to go with, it didn't land. And it didn't land for various reasons, guys. It didn't land because a lot of us didn't know how things transpired. But a lot of things came out on social media that were unfortunately not in Somizi's favor. So the retaliation was warranted, but it was disturbing. I was just like, no, guys. Somizi is too much of a big person for us to even let him stoop to that level. Should it be that it is not true? Why move from here to here? Why? Because then if that were the case, then obviously it's also content. Also, he used me for content. So then are you using him back? If that's the case, then fine. But what about Istima? You know, I was so disappointed more than anything, because I was thinking, if hypothetically it were the case that Mohale is using this for content, then I would never expect Somizi to stoop to that level. Let me give you an amazing example. Bonang Mateba. Bonang Mateba has never ever engaged with anything Euphonic has said about her. Bonang Mateba has never ever engaged with anything AKA has said about her. She literally just closed her eyes, child. She counted her money, child. She kept quiet, child, and she turned the other cheek. No matter how hot in the pot it got, Bonang was like, I am not about to discredit myself by engaging in this. So maybe the problem was that I expected the same from Somizi, or if not, a different approach. But I just didn't like the constant need to paint the person who has made this accusation as like a fame-hungry, clout-chasing person. I almost said a word I shouldn't have said because it was triggering to something else said to me. But I've never been so sad about the situation. As a public figure, you always have to be mindful of what you release on social media. You always have to be mindful of what you say on social media. And I worry, because I just feel like in certain instances, yes, as much as you need to plead your case and you need to stick up for your truth, stand up for yourself, as a public figure, it's so important to watch what you say. I also had to learn the hard way about the things that I tweet or how I react in the moment, out of anger, out of like, you know, frustration, especially on social media. So I think on a platform such as national television, there should have been some sort of concern as to how this would come about. Do you know what I mean? And this is obviously Somizi's platform to also share his truth, and I don't blame him for sticking up for his truth, because if Somizi isn't lying, then yes, it was a smear campaign against him, and it was an alleged kind of mechanism to destroy him, whether or not because their relationship may or may have not worked out. No, may not have worked out, right? So if this is the case, I don't blame Somizi, because Somizi has always been a stand-up person, but I just wish that everybody else had remained neutral in the situation, because then it would have given us the comfort of knowing that this really is this person's word against this person's word, because it all just felt like a gang up or a kind of create this bubble that no, he's the liar, he's the cloud chaser, he's the social climber, he's the this, he's the that. And maybe had it been on social media, we could have, you know, shared our 2 cents and let it go. But it being on an episode that's going to live on the season forever, possibly, is what's concerning for me. And it's also concerning as to how the next few episodes are going to play out, because as you can see, the end credits where they kind of show the remainder of the season, I was really concerned with how everyone paints this narrative. And it as much as it could be true about the person in question, it gives an element of bullying, and I don't like seeing people being bullied. So I just feel like I wish they could have taken a different approach, maybe talking about what Somizi went through in that period, how Somizi felt in that period, how he was destroyed in that period, how he's trying to build himself up again in that period, talking to his friends, maybe saying he prayed, maybe saying that alongside the death of his mom. Like, I wanted to know how Somizi was feeling. I wanted to see a side of Somizi that was more so talking about what he experienced. I didn't really get that in this episode, so I was a little bit disappointed. But then again, this is reality TV. It gave us exactly what it needed to give. I'm sitting here gobsmacked, mouth on the floor, just in shock about everything that had happened. But I'm hoping that the rest of the season doesn't center itself around this situation, because it is such a sticky topic. And I even saw how social media blew up because people have such differing views and opinions on it, that it's kind of like a, what's the middle ground now? You know, people wouldn't wake up and lie, and on social media a lot of people seem in favor of the victim, whereas the show, it consists of Somizi's close friends and family defending Somizi, and rightfully so. They are his family and his close friends. But I just wish that we had moved away from that attack and moved more towards living the dream with Somizi. What is Somizi going through? How has Somizi been impacted by this? What is Somizi doing to get up from this, you know? So yeah, I think that the scene with him and the hopeful guy, where they were talking about who's gonna get what, this, that, and the third. Yes, it wasn't too difficult to stomach, you know. It was just they were making jokes here and there, and he was explaining what that obviously meant, and Somizi kept saying, we didn't sign. But the guy's like, if you guys got married and something about it is concrete, then you got married. And I'm like, you guys get married on camera, so doesn't that technically put Mallela at a advantage to say that we actually got married and everybody was at the ceremony? So how does that discredit Mallela from receiving half? Or because I think on social media there was an article that says that Mallela just wants his clothes and he just wants his car. He doesn't want anything that has to do with Somizi's home, whatever. But then again, you never really know. But I was very conflicted in that situation, because I'm just like, for Somizi to say that no, because we didn't actually sign anything that was on paper in writing, and Hope was saying, yeah, there needs to be something solid. I was just like, but they got married on camera. Isn't that solid? Doesn't that show that they got married? Or is that all just like is that a gray area? I don't know anything about that, so I can't really comment on that, because I don't know anything about how customary marriages work, whether or not it's anti-nuptial agreements, contracts, or it's like prenuptials, anti-nuptials, all the same thing, whereas being married in community property like ICOP and whatever. So I was not entirely sure, because it's such a gray area, even though it does say that when you've lived with someone for over 6 months, you are kind of liable to receive some stuff, and that's obviously changed over the years, where you are kind of liable to get something, of which I should have done that with my damn extra. But what I'm trying to say is, because we don't know, it's such a gray area, we don't know if Somizi has a case or not. So yeah guys, that is it. That is my TV recap of the very first episode of Somizi's Living the Dream. Cha. I was very shocked, but I will say this was the shock factor. I am going to watch every single episode, because I'm trying to see how it's going to pan out. Like, I really want to see how it's going to play out this season. I think they did what they needed to do. They caused stir on social media pages. They literally did what I think the first episode of any reality TV show intends to do, is to give that shock. So yeah, I do hope that obviously on the other side of things, on the seriousness of things, I hope that that works out, and I hope that the innocent party does get what they deserve in terms of, you know, that vindication. But in terms of the show, it gave the shock. The shock factor was 10 out of 10. The storyline is definitely giving probably 8 out of 10, because it's talking about things that we've seen on social media, so we're all gonna watch. And yeah, it must have probably been the best episode 1 I've ever watched on any reality TV show on Showmax, period. And that's just the gist of it, you know. So yeah, guys, that is the end of my TV recap of Living the Dream with Somizi. Comment down below. Let me know if you feel like you agree or disagree with my comments. Let me know why you agree or disagree. I'm very much open to the conversation of this, because I definitely was in my feels when doing this video. So I'm just very much concerned to know if you guys agree with me or you disagree with me, or what it made you feel. Comment down below. This is the last time y'all see me do a TV recap without my makeup child, because ain't nobody gonna have in a chokehold like this. But yeah, guys, let me go drink the rest of my wine, child, and I will see you guys in my next unfiltered TV recap.